Wow, Trump's Department of Justice has just filed a brief with the United States Supreme Court in response to Ghislaine Maxwell's petition to overturn her sex trafficking conviction. Her appeal is based on controversial non-prosecution agreement that Jeffrey Epstein entered into back in 2007 to 2008 with the U.S. Attorney Office in Florida, a deal brokered by Alex Acosta, who would later become Trump Secretary of Labor during his first term. In the brief, the DOJ urged that the Supreme Court should not take up Maxwell's appeal, formerly known as Petition for Certiorari, seeking overturn her conviction in the Southern District of New York. The filing lays out the DOJ's petition while also shedding light on the argument Maxwell is advancing. She claims that she was effectively covered by absent non-prosecution agreement which include a clause protecting unnamed co-conspirators from prosecution. That clause raises important question. If Epstein deal shielded his co-conspirators, would not that logically include Maxwell the possibly others? Could it suggest that additional unnamed individuals were also meant to be protected under that deal? This brings renewed focus to the fact that Donald Trump appointed Acosta, who brokered that sweetheart deal, as his labor secretary, placing him in a prominent role within the Trump administration. One other point worth nothing, the Trump era DOJ also played the role in extending certain deadlines related to Epstein investigation, further raising question about how the case was handled under Trump leadership. The Justice Department requested two extensions to respond to Maxwell's appeal to the US Supreme Court. The most recent extension request was submitted on June 6, 2025. What's especially noteworthy is the timing. Just 24 hours, Donald Trump posted publicly that the absent list does exist, but claimed it was a hoax created by Obama and Clinton. The DOJ finally filed its official brief with the Supreme Court. I want to walk you through that brief in detail. But first, an important point. Alex Acosta, Trump's former labor secretary and the same individual who negotiated absent controversial non-prosecution agreement while serving as US Attorney General, is referenced multiple times in DOJ filings. To put this in context, let me remind you of the moment during Trump's first term when he stood beside Acosta at the White House. Trump defended him, saying many people believe Acosta's deal with the Epstein was a good one at the time. He even admitted he did not want Acosta to resign. That moment may now become a key piece of evidence in Maxwell's effort to secure a retrial. Here's the clip played.
He's a great labor secretary, not a good labor secretary. He's done a fantastic job.
Alright, let's now take a close look at the brief filed with the United States Supreme Court. This brief was submitted by the Department of Justice. Here's how they present their arguments. They lay it out as follows. Ghislaine Maxwell conviction and rule in Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking ring. Ghislaine Maxwell was convinced in the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York on multiple charges. These include one count of conspiracy to transport minors with the intent to engage in criminal sex activity under 18 USC 371, one count of transporting a minor with the intent to engage in criminal sex activity, 18 USC 2423, and one count of sex trafficking of a minor, 18 USC 1591. From 1994 to 2004, Maxwell was instrumental in coordinating, facilitating, and contributing to financing Jeffrey Epstein sexual abuse of numerous young women and underage girls. Their method of operation was constant. Maxwell and Epstein would identify vulnerable girls, often those in difficult circumstances, and then isolate them from their friends and family. They would gain the girls' trust by giving them gifts and feigning friendship, gradually normalizing discussion of sexual topics and sexual touching before escalating to sexual abuse. These activities occurred at various locations, including Epstein's residence in Palm Beach, Florida, and New York City. Especially, Maxwell reported used Mar-a-Lago, Palm Beach, Florida as a location from which she would sex traffic girls. For example, Virginia, a 17-year-old homeless minor, obtained a job at a Mar-a-Lago. Maxwell reportedly met Virginia there and introduced her to Epstein, who subsequently sex trafficked her before her death by suicide. Virginia described her experience in her own words.
Virginia Roberts was working in the spa at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago club in Palm Beach when British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell.
Virginia Roberts was working at the spa inside Donald Trump Mar-a-Lago club in Palm Beach when she was introduced to billionaire Jeffrey Epstein by British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell. According to Roberts, the grooming began almost immediately. She recalled being trained in how to behave, how to stay quiet, be submissive, and give Jeffrey what he wanted. Much of that grooming, she says, came directly from Maxwell. It was shocking. Roberts later said, "You would not expect a woman to not only allow this to happen, but to actively teach you how to please a man like that." She described Epstein giving her instruction as well, directing her or exactly how wanted things done, even correcting her movement and behavior in real time. The Justice Department brief also addressed the controversial 2007 to 2008 non-prosecution agreement that federal prosecutor entered into with Epstein. That deal was overseen by then U.S. Attorney Alexandra Acosta, who would later go on to serve as Donald Trump's Secretary of Labor. The agreement states that Jeffrey Epstein sought to resolve all potential state and federal criminal charges globally under the authority of Alexandra Acosta, who at the time was the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida. According to the document, federal prosecution would be deferred in favor of state prosecution in Florida, provided Epstein complied with the terms and conditions outlined in the agreement. Now, here is a critical detail. Who was the Attorney General of Florida during that time? That's right, Pam Bondi. She served as Florida Attorney General during the period in question and now hold the position of Attorney General of United States. The brief goes on to address the inclusion of a co-conspirator clause in Epstein non-prosecution agreement, describing it as highly unusual and noting that it appeared to have been added with minimal discussion or security by prosecutor at the time. Importantly, the agreement does not only refer to the Southern District of Florida, where Palm beach is located. It also contains language suggesting a broader scope, implying non-prosecution across other jurisdictions in United States as well. Despite this, despite this, the Solicitor General, writing on behalf of the Trump administration, urged in the brief that the terms of the non-prosecution agreement are not binding on the Department of Justice in relation to prosecution of Ghislaine Maxwell in other federal districts. The Department of Justice is urging the Supreme Court not to grant Ghislaine Maxwell petition for appeal. So why? So why is this significant? I believe it points to Donald Trump's growing concern over Maxwell claims that she possesses the absent client list and related files and that she willing to speak out. Let's not forget that during Maxwell's sex trafficking trial, Trump publicly said, I wish her well, when asked why he would extend well wishes to someone convicted of sex trafficking manner. He brushed it off, saying that simply something he says to everyone. Now, here's where things get more complicated. In a recent social media post, Trump first claimed that the absent list and related file does not exist. Then he contradicted himself, saying they do exist, but were part of a political hoax orchestrated by Obama and Clinton. Initially, he echoed the DOJ's sentence that the list never existed, only to later say it did exist but was not real. This type of public inconsistency may actually strengthen Maxwell's case for retrial. If the former president is now casting doubt on the validity of very evidence used to convict her, she could argue that her trial was fundamentally unfair. She may claim she was denied the opportunity to present that political context as part of the defense. It's also worth noting that Trump likely knew the DOJ's Supreme Court brief was due, while the department was not about to urge in favor of overturning Maxwell Convention. They still had to formally respond. The Trump post may have been an attempt to shape the narrative advance by publicly claiming that the absent list was a hoax and a fabrication by Obama and Clinton. Donald Trump may have inadvertently handed Ghislaine Maxwell powerful legal arguments, a golden ticket of sorts. With that statement, Maxwell could now urge that she deserved a retrial on the grounds that the entire case was built on what a former president has labeled a politically motivated fabrications. Supporters of Maxwell have already begun making this case publicly. One of her most vocal advocates is Jessica Reed Carus, who has been actively promoting the narrative that Maxwell is entitled to retrial based on these developments. Jessica Reed, one of the influencers recently invited to the White House, has been a vocal supporter of Ghislaine Maxwell. Known for wearing free Ghislaine Maxwell t-shirts, she has publicly stated her intention to advocate for a retrial or even a pardon, especially in light of Donald Trump's recent comments. Everyone should asking, she posted, why one woman is serving 20 years for trafficking manner to no one. This is the same individual Trump hosted at the White House back in February. Now, using his own public statement to support a renewed push for Maxwell legal relief, it appears Trump anticipated how the Department of Justice would respond to Maxwell's Supreme Court appeal. especially after securing two deadline extension. By publicly calling the absent list a hoax, he may have given Maxwell just enough a legal opening, a golden ticket, to seek a retrial. In doing so, he could be attempting to delay and prevent her from disclosing the contents of that list. Meanwhile, prominent mega figures seem to be shifting away from the topic entirely. Kirk, once outspoken on the absent file, is now publicly distancing himself, saying, I am done talking about it. Here's that clip.
Honestly, I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends in the administration. I'm going to trust my friends in the government to.
Now we are hearing the same statement from mega Republicans Congressman Mike Lawler, who recently stated, I do not think we should be talking about Epstein anymore. This reflects a broader shift among mega Republicans, many of whom are now distancing themselves from the Epstein controversy entirely.
And as I said, if somebody did something, if there is evidence of a crime committed, then prosecute them.
Let's not forget what Donald Trump said about Ghislaine Maxwell during her trial. Take a listen to this clip.
Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison, and a lot of people want to know if she's going to turn in powerful people.
And here's what Trump was asked during his interview on Access and how he responded. Roll the clip.
A reporter asked you about Ghislaine Maxwell. You said, quote, I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years.
Republicans are now saying they have no intention of calling Ghislaine Maxwell to testify at any hearings. That's certainly suspicious. They seem intent on shutting this down completely. However, even Laura Trump gave an interview today where she claimed that more files from the absent list are still set to be released. Here's what she said during her appearance on the Benny Johnson show. Let's play the clip.
What would be your advice? Given this back and forth, we're just coming off of Turning Point here in Tampa.
Let me know what you think, folks. There's lot unfolding here, and that Supreme Court feeling just happened. So this story is far from over.